Hello and welcome to another edition of Santos on Sports, along with my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Thanks to our sponsors, starting off, Attorney John Seed, 156 8th Street in the great city of New Bedford. You can check out his website at johnseedlaw.com. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville. Citywide Glass with 3 locations in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. And Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. So the question of the day, the Patriots decide to put in Drake Maye against Houston after going 1-4. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? What says Chris Santos?
Well, what says Chris Santos is decision of Jared Mayo to make this decision as a team decision. Is this a pressured by the media decision? Or is this something forthcoming to say, you know, we lost to Seattle close. We lost to Miami close. I think if we had a quarterback, we maybe could have won those games. So there's a lot on the mind of Mr. Mayo, the head coach. And so what do you feel now is the right way to go? Well, here's what I feel, Paul. He's not Caleb Williams. He's not Jaden Daniels. 2 guys that had a lot of playing time at USC and a lot of playing time at LSU. This is a kid from North Carolina coming in where I'm glad they didn't start him. But at the same time, you've now had practices, preseason, and 5 games to develop a quarterback to hopefully get him ready to where you want him. Now, that being said, is he ready? I don't know. The team is, I guess, thinking so. Or is it because they just don't trust what Brissett is doing, and now they're just saying, well, let's give him a shot and see what happens. So to me, if I'm going to put him in the game, I am not putting him under center. He better be RPO in the shotgun every snap, reading and reacting and getting rid of that ball as fast as they can. New England didn't make adjustments to bulk up that offensive line. New England didn't make adjustments to fix this wide receiving core. And it's not going to be a miracle savior that's going to come in and turn this team around and make them make the playoffs. It's a matter of survival right now. And they're going to be playing a very good team in Houston who did a good job against Josh Allen last week and very good on defense. So, yeah, you're putting him in, but I think you got to put him in the right setting, and hopefully they will do that, because if they don't, I can see some bad things happening. So it's the right move. Brissett has done nothing. And even then, they could have addressed that instead of getting him, maybe go out and get someone else. They didn't do it. They've had all the preseason, all the practices, all the videotaping, 5 games of regular season. It's time to let the kid do his thing. Let's see how it works.
I got to tell you, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right. But I fear this move at this point. I think they're just caving into pressure. I don't think they had this as part of the plan. They're now saying he's doing great in practice. I tell you right now, if he's doing something in practice and he's just dazzling everybody in practice and they put him in here and I think it's time to get him in there, you know, like you said, Brissett has struggled, then I say, okay. But other than that, like this game here, like you could have put him in against Miami. Miami stinks. They're awful, right? And we couldn't beat them. We should have beat them, but we couldn't beat them. Right, that might have been a game you put him in. You got Jacksonville after the Houston game. Why don't you put him in there? Why don't you put him against Jacksonville? No, you got to put him against Houston, who's going to be, I mean, this defense is going to be coming in like Niagara Falls, coming after him, like you said. They're going to have to put him back in the shotgun so he doesn't get sacked every 5 minutes. I don't know. I got some serious concerns about them putting him in right now. I don't know. I'm worried about it.
I agree with you. I do. Again, I don't know if this is the pressure of the media. Is this the pressure of, up above coming down saying it's time to make a move? Or is this something that they say, hey, we've seen enough in practice. We've seen enough of him on the headset and videos. We trust him. And maybe we could have done something with those 2 games. And so, we're going to throw him in now. It's very, very interesting, especially with what this offensive line has done and gotten worse with the injury of David Andrews. So I really hope this is not another Mac Jones scenario. And this kid goes down mentally as well as physically.
All right. So what do you think? Give us a call out there. Try to call when we're not talking to somebody on the line because we only have one line at this point. It's 774-218-3393. We do have a new caller on the line.
Okay.
Barry from Fall River. Good evening.
How's it going?
Good.
Hey, how you doing?
First off, let's get things straight here. They told you at the beginning of the year it was a rebuild. It fell on deaf ears. When you're in a rebuild, you don't win. You don't make the playoffs. They showed it by what they did in free agency, and then they were going to build with the draft, and it was a draft and develop situation. So they should be 0-5, by the way. Cincinnati left 10 points on the football field. Regardless of that, sticking the kid in now is really irresponsible by them because unlike the other quarterbacks, I think your host mentioned this, all those guys had well over 25 to 30 starts in college. Caleb Williams played a half a season in Oklahoma for the 2 years at USC. So this kid is a little bit unprepared. He was kind of raw coming out of North Carolina. He had two different offensive coordinators down there. The year when he put up the numbers, which is his junior year, they ran the air raid offense. So it's irresponsible of mine putting this kid out there now at this point. You're not winning to begin with. You want to play him after the bye to give him some taste of being a starter in the NFL, that's fine. But rushing him out here now is irresponsible. I think the owner has some responsibility in this, and I think the head coach does, who, by the way, the head coach reminds me so much of David Culley in Houston. It would not stun me if it keeps going this way, whether 2-15 or 1-16, God forbid. That this coach is basically one and done.
All right, hang on a second. Let's get Chris's response. Barry's saying it's irresponsible, a pretty strong word. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it could be because you could be detrimental to this young man's psyche as well as his physical ability if he takes some licks as Brissett has taken. And as I said earlier, he's not Caleb Williams in the experience, and he's not Jaden Daniels in the experience with what those guys had at USC and LSU. I'm worried about, Barry, is this pushed because you want to sell seats, you want to sell tickets, you want to keep the people in the stands. I got to do that, and we're going to do it if we put this young man in. That's what's going to bother me the most.
Yeah, that's what this is. I mean, that offensive line is a complete mess. And what hurts him more, David Andrews, who's out for the year, that's the guy that calls the protections, makes the line calls. He's out. You expect Nick Leverett to do that? So the last game, Jacoby Brissett took a lot of that responsibility of calling those protections and changing the calls. You're going to ask the kid to do that now? And this is a kid, by the way, all you heard all summer was they teach him how to keep his feet on the ground when he throws the football. They had to retrain his footwork. They had to fix his his throwing motion. So you're not going to stick that kid out there against a defense that's one of the best defenses in the league, one of the fastest defenses in the league, one of the most physical defenses in the league, and you're going to roll them out there with a bad offensive line? Oh, man, I'll tell you.
All right. Well, Barry, thank you very much for the call. A great call, and call again.
Yep.
All right. Barry from Fall River has got some strong words there.
Well, listen.
It's going to be a disaster.
He's a true Patriot fan that's sitting there going, you know, if this is supposed to be our franchise, why are you going to kill this kid now? You might as well stick with what you got. It's a rebuilding season. Stick with Brissett. Go as long as you can. And then again, why put him here in this situation? Wait to, could have maybe been Miami. Could have waited to Jacksonville. Could wait after the bye week and make a lot more different things happen. It's surprising to me, Paul, that it's this game here. This is the one that's really got me because Houston is 4-1 and a very better team year after year. They're building themselves up and they're right where they want to be. So this is what's really surprising to me. And I said it before, and I think Barry might think so too. This is about selling tickets and selling seats and keeping people in the stands. That's a possibility.
Well, I got to tell you, right, as bad as Jacoby Brissett is, right, there are a couple of things that he brings to the table that have kind of kept the Patriots in some of these games, right? No interceptions, no fumbles. Now you say no interceptions and no fumbles. Big deal, right? He's mediocre the rest of the time. But no interceptions and no fumbles is pretty big. I mean, I went down to Dallas that time to see the Patriots play Dallas.
Yeah.
And you remember we were joking around about the game. I fully expected the Patriots to lose, but we had that little fun bet and everything. So I got into the seats, and the game was over at the end of the first quarter. because Mac Jones fumbled the ball. He threw an interception, then he threw another interception, then it was pick six. I mean, it was just one disaster after another, right? So I'm thinking at least Jacoby Brissett, he hands the ball off. He runs and gets a first down here and there. Yeah, he holds on to the ball too long, but, maybe with this team, with not that many weapons, with a weak offensive line, maybe you're better off holding on to the ball or just throwing it out of bounds than fumbling and throwing an interception. What do you think about that line of thought?
So what's the difference of doing that and losing every game, or taking chances and throwing into traffic, or throwing an interception, at least trying to get the ball down the field, and attempt to win a game, instead of, okay, well, I'm not going to throw interceptions and I'm not going to fumble it, but I'm going to get destroyed out here anyways, and just try to dink and dunk. So there are times that he could have made some throws that weren't there, and Mayo said right now the inconsistency, we can see it and we don't like it, and one of the reasons why we're making our change. So a veteran does what a veteran does. Try to stick around for another year and do the right things. He's done what he's could with what he's had to try to stick around with this team. But the organization's seeing it a little bit different. Let's see how it goes.
Hey, you got to wonder how this kid's going to look, because they may be seeing something in practice that we're not seeing. And there's this whole line of thought that says that maybe Mayo wanted to start with Drake Maye the whole time, and AVP didn't really want to do that, or maybe the general manager didn't want to do that, and they had to kind of get on the same page and so forth. So I got to tell you, it's just going to be interesting to see, like, what's the game plan? What strategy do they have with him in there instead of Brissett? Do they throw the ball more? Like you said, do they run out of the shotgun to keep him comfortable, what he does? Does that mean that they're going to be able to move the ball better? Even if you take a chance here and there, can you get the ball into the hands of Pop Douglas? Can you get the ball down the field once in a while? Can you at least keep the defense honest? If they go in and play this game and they have it respectable, even if they lose, then maybe I'll change my mind. Right now, I'm a little nervous about it, but I got to tell you, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the kid goes in there and maybe with the right game plan, maybe with the right, strategy, maybe with the right looking at the defense and trying to figure things out, maybe they can hang in there and surprise us. I don't know. Is that possible?
I'm going to give you one word. It's called survival. And that's what I'm hoping he does. He survives at least the first one, and then we see what happens after that. Now, will the game plan change? I think that goes by as the game goes. If things start well and all of a sudden he starts to make the right reads, or he's accurate and he starts to throw the ball down the field more and he just does some things that look better than Brissett, then maybe there'll be more time to open up this playbook. If not, then I don't see it as much. And again, just hoping that they can protect him, use the run game, but when there's times to get out of the pocket, get out. When there's time to make a throw where you're around traffic, go ahead and do it. And hey, you make a mistake, you make a mistake. I mean, it's not getting any, it's not going to get any worse. That's just how it's going to be. If they continue to do it, then let them do it, because, the way the game plan is going, you only got one win and it hasn't been looking good since. So give it a shot and see what happens.
So give us a call at 774-218-3393 and let us know what you think about Drake Maye. Is this the right decision, putting him in against a very strong Houston team with one of the top defenses in the league? I was reading that they're like a top 5 defense. So is that the right game to put him in? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Now, what do you think the game plan is going to be? Because the criticism with Miami is that, Miami couldn't stop the run. So they're running the ball. They couldn't stop the run. There are a couple of times where it was 1st and 10. And I don't know, maybe as a surprise, they tried to throw the ball and it was incomplete. Now once you're 2nd and 10, and then you're 3rd and 10, now you got to throw the ball. So there was a line of thought that was, well, maybe they should have just kept exploiting the run, even when they got into the red zone. You say what? That if they know the run is coming, then it's easy to second guess. At some point, you still have to throw the ball.
Well, if your strength is the run, then obviously you're trying to make positive yardage on 1st and 2nd down. We all understand that. Sometimes you got to throw on 3rd down. Everybody knows you're going to throw. The key for me is I want to get him out. That's number one. I don't want him on the center. I want him shotgun. I want him RPO, see the reads. I want him quick outs, whether it's screens, whether it's out in the flat, maybe find some one-on-one matchups on the outside. I'm not saying 50-50 balls, but enough that, you make your challenges until there's that point where he starts to feel comfortable. Is that first series? Is that second series? How does he look right away? Then I can maybe start to make my plan of attack if how I want to use him a little bit more. But the strength of the game for them is the run game. So, you can't get away from that and then expect the kid to come out and throw 52, 54 times. I don't think that's going to happen either.
Brandon Bouchard seems to echo what you're saying, Chris.
Yep.
He says run the ball, put him in shotgun, spread the field, get it out fast. He has to play to learn. Let him make his mistakes. Let's get him out there and get him learning. But, he brings some different abilities to the table, too. My understanding is he's really great out of the shotgun. He's comfortable in the shotgun. He reads well. He goes through his progressions. And on top of that, he's got a lot of speed. Now, you don't want him to get creamed as he's running for the first down, but, if he can do like the Josh Allen thing or even like, Mahomes is doing, obviously these are seasoned quarterbacks I'm talking about, but using his speed to maybe get a first down, run down the sideline and go out of bounds. That's another weapon that I don't see Brissett doing that too often. I don't think Brissett is that fast.
Well, if that's one of his strengths, and to, flush him to the right, flush him to the left, sometimes he's going to have to pick up and move, step up in the pocket, but then roll out, whatever, and see how he feels. And like Brandon says, he's going to make mistakes. They're rookies. Williams has made some mistakes. Daniels has been very good and, hasn't thrown a lot of touchdowns, Paul, but he's done enough that, they're winning games, and he's done a lot with his legs. So I don't know if Maye has that, what Daniels has. But if he can combine the two and you add in the running game and you keep him healthy and you keep him upright, it gives him a chance to say, hey, this is our future and let's see what happens.
Well, you mentioned some of these other quarterbacks, and the other criticism that I'm hearing is, some of these other teams are playing the young quarterbacks, whether it's Williams or Jaden Daniels seems to be the one that's doing the best. Bo Nix is even doing okay, you know what I mean? So these other quarterbacks are learning while our quarterback is sitting on the bench. So they're getting a year under their belt. Like 1 year from now, these other quarterbacks will all have a year under their belt. Yep. And our guy is sitting on the bench the whole time, possibly, right? So the other school of thought is, well, you know what? Let's get our guy in there. Maybe he'll make a difference. I mean, how do you explain Jaden Daniels, right? I mean, I'm looking at Jaden Daniels. I'm like, what an exciting young quarterback this is. Now, I guess he could be a flash in the pan, but I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, I purposely went to the Washington game when I saw the Washington game. I don't usually do that. I'm following the Patriots. But when I saw Washington, I wanted to see this kid. He's exciting. How do you explain that? That you can translate something from, say, college to the pros like this guy's doing, and the inability of the experts to be able to tell who's going to excel and who isn't.
Well, what I'm seeing from him, and I hope you saw the same thing when you were watching, he's very, very elusive. You can't find a way to get to him. Mm-hmm. He steps and goes and he gets back and then he moves right, moves up. He's all over the place. And that's what's keeping him upright. Now, there are times that this protection is broken down, but he's able to get out of the danger and then create something from the danger, which maybe Brissett is not elusive enough and fast enough to do that. And I don't know about Maye yet. We'll see it once it comes up. Meanwhile, on the other one, Williams is more of the bigger type, like a Josh Allen. He's willing to go in there, step up more in the pocket, take a hit here and there, that kind of way to get a ball out. So it's a different style, okay, of quarterbacks. But again, those teams might have a little bit better and healthier offensive line. Protection might be better, different things. So each team, obviously is a little bit different. So, but that's what I see from Daniels, who's very elusive. It's tough to find him, tough to get to him, and then he creates off the trouble. That's what's been really working for him. And of course, half of it is by using his legs.
So we have to wonder, right, when our young quarterback goes in there, right? You put Drake Maye in there, right?
Yeah.
Is he elusive? Can he feel the pressure? Can he bounce around in the pocket? Like, we really don't know until he goes in there. Correct. You know what I mean? Is he going to stay in there like the Statue of Liberty, or is he going to be moving around and be an elusive? Because I got to tell you, certain guys, and we've talked about it before, certain guys just have that knack for being able to feel the pressure. They're looking that way. They can kind of feel it.
Patrick Mahomes, if you watched him on Monday night, he was doing that almost every other play. Very elusive, steps up, steps out, goes to the right, comes back, goes to the left, peels around, comes back in, and then he just, at the last minute, boom, just lets it go. Now, is that Maye? Probably not. You're probably not going to see that right away, because if you did, he would have already been in games and starting from game one. They're just trying to feed, and get the best they can out of what they've seen in preseason and obviously practices. So maybe it's his time to, learn a lot more and step up on the fly and just see what happens. But it's going to be difficult because of what the protection in his offensive line is giving him. As our caller said earlier, it's been tough without David Andrews, who makes a lot of those decisions, and now Levitt's going to try to do it. So it's tough, and that's hard. But listen, he is not Williams, and he is not Daniels. He's Drake Maye. Let's see how he performs for us before we critique him.
Looking back now, too, a lot of criticism of the Patriots in the sense that they could have done what some of the other teams did. You get a veteran quarterback, not like Jacoby Brissett, like a good veteran quarterback, and you put the good veteran quarterback in there, and then you have Drake Maye behind him. And then maybe you spend a little money on some weapons, a good wide receiver, money on the offensive line, and you're going to have a competitive team while you're waiting for the young quarterback to kind of develop, and the Patriots didn't do that. They're just like, they seem to be cheap. They're not spending money. They don't have a lot of weapons. The offensive line is terrible. I mean, you give a good quarterback a really top offensive line, big advantage, I mean, you see Purdy out there in San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco's having a little bit of an uneven year so far, but he's a guy last pick in the draft, and you surround him with talent, and he looks good. You know what I mean? So the Patriots, they just really didn't do anything for the whole rest of the team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, to give anybody a chance, whether it's Brissett or this guy. And again, you could have got a better quarterback like some of these other teams did too,
I'm very curious, Paul, that a few years ago when they spent all that money on some big names and it didn't work out the way they planned.
I still went 10-7.
Right. But to a point of to say maybe a 1 year and it didn't go over after that, and it started to go down and down and down, to a point of, should we do this again, or are we better coaches and a better staff that the guys that we have, we can make them better? And that's not working either. So, that's the balance there where they probably could have done both, found themselves to get another couple of O-line, maybe another, a tight end, maybe another wide receiver, whatever it is to fix up that offense and say, okay, we're making the third selection in this draft for a guy that we think we want to bring along for a long time. Now we got to surround him, and we got to find a way to protect him, and so we can let him do his work, because we think this is how great he's going to be, and they didn't do it.
Well, I do think that it's not a good idea to spend money and overpay for mediocre players, because some years you look at the free agent market, and the free agent market isn't that good.
True.
So you got to look at it and say, let's pick and choose where we spend the money, how we spend the money to get some good players, because you can't overspend for bad players. They've done that before, and obviously it didn't work. So, Yes, I do think developing the draft, having some patience, like you said, we're a little spoiled here in Patriots Nation. We've had so much success. We want to go from, where we were last year to like playoffs in 1 year. It's not going to happen. We got to know it's going to be a gradual way to get there. So I think we just have to accept the fact that it is going to take a little bit of time before we end up back fighting for a playoff spot.
Well, you started and you tried, this week Gibson after Stevenson had, fumbleitis. So they decided to say, okay, let's try it the other way. Then
He's pretty good. Gibson was pretty good.
Yeah, and then Stevenson got back in there. So it's kind of like a little two-headed monster, kind of use them. One's more of a, power runner. The other one's more of that little scat back. So you can kind of, float the two of them around, keep them involved. But I think it's got to be, all about the offensive line. It's all about that, about opening holes, about pass protection. You need running backs to help with that as well, pick up blitzes. And then, of course, you need the guy in charge to make the right reads, make the right decisions, check on me's up at the line, and have everything the way they want it. So they tried it with a veteran. And they're going to go with the rookie and see how it goes.
All right, well, what do you think? Give us a call at 774-218-3393. We had a couple of people that commented before the show started. Tim Geary says, depends on whether he gets killed or not. So it's an interesting,
that's easy, yeah.
That's an interesting comment. So the old depends. Yeah, we'll have to leave that one in there. And by the way, you mentioned Kansas City before and Patrick Mahomes, right? So I'm watching the game. I really enjoy watching Kansas City. I know the Patriot fans, they have this thing about Kansas City because they don't like the fact that Kansas City's winning too much because then it comes that Tom Brady comparison. But I really enjoy watching Mahomes. So I'm watching the game. All of a sudden I hear, oh, great catch by Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm like, what? It's just Smith-Schuster. You got to be kidding me, right? So I was just chuckling when I saw that, you know.
Well, that's funny you should say that because the next morning I received a text from Mark from Chicago. And Mark from Chicago said, how about Juju getting so many catches for so many yards? And I said to him, well, then he said, well, where was he with the Patriots, last year? My comment is, okay, you're going from a number one receiver on a very poor protection team to a number three receiver with one of the best quarterbacks in the league and a team who's won Super Bowls. So it's a different scenario of where he is now compared to where he was with the Pats. So let's all slow down about Juju, saying this, that, and the other thing about him. It's because the setup of what he is right now as a slot receiver or whatever, as a third receiver with Mahomes, everybody's worried about Kelsey, Worthy, the deep ball, even when they had Rice in there. Now, they get this guy. And so, yeah, he just happened to be one-on-one and caught a couple of balls. So it's just a different scenario for him. And, glad he's doing well, and that's great. But when he was in New England, that was not going to happen with the players they had.
When he was in New England, Patrick Mahomes wasn't walking through that door. You know what I'm saying? So I see Smith-Schuster one-on-one, got like a little bit of space, and Mahomes drops it right in his breadbasket.
Yeah.
He's like the best quarterback in the league. So he must be thinking, wow, this is pretty good. The ball landed right.
So even example with that. Now, last year they would say, well, Juju, he can't get open. He can't get open. He never gets open. He can't get open. Well, now he comes here, catches a couple balls. Well, he can get open now? That's not what it is. It's not about getting open. It's about a guy who's willing to go and throw the ball there, number one. And then number two, as I said, he's not a number one receiver. He's like a number three receiver, maybe even number four when you count tight end Kelsey. And then you think, okay, well, this is why he's getting open a little bit more. So the situation just feels just right. That's why.
So David Mead comments on Drake Maye going into the game. Good luck, my brother. So we're handing the ball to the rookie against one of the top defenses in the league, and he's like, okay, good luck.
Well, and you better bless him and make sure.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah, give him a little holy
he
water.
Out of it and he's ready to play the following week. So
the thing is, once he goes in, you can't really take him out. You know what I mean? Like if you put him in too early, like if you put him in next week against Jacksonville, hey, you know what I mean? That might have been an idea, but you put him in now, and let's say he's not that good, then he's not that good the next week. He's not that good the next week. You got to kind of ride it out. I don't know how you could take him out and put Brissett back in. I can't.
Well, he would have to look really bad.
Yeah.
To get Brissett back in. I mean, really bad. So
he says, "Okay, God bless." Yes, he agrees with you. Give him the little, God bless from the Monsignor.
Sure.
So give us a call, 774-218-3393. I know one of our top callers, Butch, had commented prior to the show saying that he really thought the Patriots were caving into media pressure. Well, I know from listening to the Boston talk shows, they are just all over, Brissett is terrible. He can't find an open receiver. He holds onto the ball too long. He gets sacked all the time. He's just awful. And, the kid can't be much worse. And there are a lot of empty seats in Gillette Stadium. You alluded to that before. Maybe the ownership is like, hey, let's just roll the dice and throw the kid in there. I'm looking around. I'm seeing Daniels. I'm seeing Williams. I'm seeing Bo Nix. I'm like, he can't do a lot worse. I mean, I guess he could do worse. But there is media pressure. There is pressure from the fans, pressure from the talk shows. Do you think they're really responding to that? I mean, they're supposed to be ignoring the noise, right?
Yeah, you would think so. But do you ignore people above you? So I'm wondering if the people above are saying, hey, listen, I got to pay these guys and we got to finally get people in the seats. And, maybe we should do this, that, and the other thing. So I'm not sure about that, but they're a close bunch. They talk. I'm sure they hear all the noise that goes on, and then media after game and what we want to do and what are you going to do next. So I'm sure it's there in the back of the mind.
I see that Mark Sylvia from Chicago said, play him, he said before the show started.
Yep.
Although if they aren't happy with Brissett, they should have signed a better quarterback. Brissett is pretty mediocre, I have to say. And Michael Reedy commented, he's going to get killed if he goes in there. So another person that thinks that it's going to be a disaster if the kid goes in there against Houston.
Yeah, I know Graham Powers made a couple of mentions. I know Darren Costa made some mention too about what they think also about the kid. One said he's going to get completely destroyed. The other one, let him play. Again, this is not Miami. Okay, I get that. But let's throw that aside, because let's say Miami had Tua and they didn't have Huntley or the other guy before they had gotten hurt when he played in Seattle, Skylar Thompson. And so think about if it was just Tua. Would you be saying the same thing when you sit there and say, well, they lost against Miami? Yeah, they lost against Miami, but had a chance to win that game. But remember, Miami didn't have their quarterback. So, I can't look at it from that point of view, because Tua is better than those other two guys, hands down. And I know it would have been a different game if he was playing. So tough to say. Injuries are part of the game, and you take advantage when you get those advantages, and the Patriots almost did.
Well, what about you take a look at Kirk Cousins, right?
Yep.
So I'm thinking to myself, right, why didn't the Patriots get like one of these guys, right? A Cousins, Baker Mayfield, somebody, one of these second chance guys, put him in there. You got some, somebody that actually can do something, surround him with some weapons, I don't know, sign a better offensive lineman, maybe draft a left tackle, I don't know, something. And at least be a team that's 500, because all you really have to be is 500 with 2 or 3 games left, and you're still in that, in the hunt category that they always put on the screen, right? But no, they get this mediocre journeyman, they're not really paying them that much. They're paying them a little bit, but not paying them that much. Some of these guys on the coaching staff are being paid by other teams, so they're trying to save money there. I mean, why not do it the way some of these other teams did? Because they're doing better than we are right now with that process, right?
It came down to money, in my opinion, with Kirk Cousins, and even maybe Baker Mayfield and all that, to sit back and say, age, what we're doing in the draft, we need other positions, different things like that. So will you want to sign Kirk Cousins to that contract that Atlanta gave him? I don't know if the Patriots wanted to do that. So there's a lot of that goes into all that in the back of the team with the ownership and obviously the coaching staff. So that would have to be something you sit down and say, hey, which direction do we really want to go? Would it be better for your team, Paul? Yes, obviously it would. But how much do you have to spend just on him and then everything else to boast your team? I mean, I don't have all the ins and outs of that. So that makes that part difficult. But yes, he's definitely a huge upgrade than where you're at right now.
Well, David Mead talks about Tom Brady, and he's making that comment about Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady left, and now we're losing games left and right. And, I was thinking about something the other day, right?
Yeah.
There was that whole Belichick-Brady thing. So Brady leaves, Belichick goes down the tubes, right? And Brady goes on to win the Super Bowl. So then I was thinking all those years that all of the Belichick assistant coaches would leave and go somewhere else. And I was like, can't understand why that tree, the people that work for Brady, whether it's Josh McDaniels or Patricia or all the other guys, they go somewhere else, they fail, they come back, they do okay, right? Then they leave again, they fail, they come back, the so-called Belichick tree. Well, I have a theory on that now. They couldn't take Brady with them. Brady stayed back with Belichick, and they left and went somewhere else. And then when Brady went and played in Tampa Bay, that coach was kind of like, Arians was like an okay coach. He wins the Super Bowl with Brady, right? So again, it turns out that I think Brady, the thing with Brady is he's not just the quarterback, right? He's the guy in that locker room. He's the guy that says, "Hey, Chris Santos, what the hell are you doing? Get off your ass!" And I think he's a guy that has so much respect that he would just make everybody around him better. And you saw it happen in Tampa Bay and New England. Of course, he had all the weapons and he had everybody there. I understand all that. But the more I look at it, the more I just look at Brady and say, wow, this guy was really something that once in a lifetime kind of a player.
So David Mead is saying that let's think about Tom Brady for a minute.
Yes.
The VP, the one that retired and became a commentator for sports. he was the one that was winning all the games, right? And we always, the Patriots always used to beat Miami. Okay, so you're saying that you want Tom Brady in the, not maybe coaching staff, but above that, in the, with Kraft and ownership and everything like that.
Oh, is that what he's saying?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is he
Yeah.
saying that to say, well, if I had Tom there, he knows all about Miami, and that way we would find ways to beat Miami?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know if that's what I'm getting out of that comment, but I don't really care because he's not on the field, and that would not happen.
He's not coming through that
I don't care
door.
if he was in there or not, as a VP or a president or someone in charge of the Patriots up above. I'm going to say no to that one, David. Tom is not on the field to make the plays, and I don't care what he's doing. That's not happening right now, unless that Tom, before this season started, made better choices and got better players of offensive line and quarterback and all that. I'll give you that. But with the team they got right now, I don't care who you got in there. It's not going to make it any better. So I'm going to disagree on that one if you're thinking about that.
All right. I know it's hard to predict the future. That's what makes sports so much fun. We talk about it all the time. You put on the football game, put on the red zone, and you're like, what? Buffalo's losing the who? And then they ended up coming back, and then they're losing that last game. But I'm looking at the scores. I'm like, wait a minute. New Orleans is beating who now? So it's always like interesting to see how these things are going to work out. But, Drake Maye going in there, the problem is he's not going in there with the weapons that, some of these other teams have, right? So y'all looking at it, I know you've coached, you're really like a X's and O's, really like a student of the game. What are his chances of going in there and making this a competitive game against Houston?
Well, when you're home and you got to win again all the phases of the game. So it's not just going to be all on him. The defense is still going to have to do their job against CJ Stroud, who has become a pretty good quarterback. Let's not forget that, Paul. Let's remember who they're playing, and it's not just about Houston's defense. This team has stepped up. They have Diggs, they had Collins. I know he's banged up now. They picked up some guys too in the backfield, Joe Mixon and a couple of more. So Dalton Schultz, they've gotten better of an all-around team. So let's not forget that. But again, you have to win the battles of the turnovers, the penalties, special teams, defense, offense. You got to do more. This is not all on Drake Maye's shoulders. This is a lot more than that. To win a game, it takes, a full team and a full effort from the 5 phases of the game. Not just what did our offense do. So there's a lot that goes on to say that. They're hoping to make it better on that phase of the game than what it's been. That's all you should be thinking about. How can we make this better? And then go from there.
Well, Lisa comments, does anyone even know who the center is going to be? The last call had mentioned it too, right? Andrews is out. Somebody's in there. You got to make these calls.
It was Levitt that was brought in the game. I believe he was with Tampa Bay prior. And so now he's with New England.
David Mead is really fired up about Tom Brady. He wants to make Tom Brady the coach of the New England Patriots. That's never going to happen.
Even if it did, David, I'm sorry. With this team they got here, they're still not beating Miami or many other teams right now.
Well, by the way, when Tom Brady was there, the Patriots always had a hard time playing at Miami. Remember that? His record at Miami wasn't even that great. Remember that? You'd go down to Miami like we can't beat Miami.
Yeah, I mean, he
got some losses there.
Yeah, you're gonna have a couple of things here and there, but I get what David's saying. You've had a better chance at beating them, when Tom was around in the capacity. But he's looking at Tom being around in a coaching or executive role with New England, and if he was, then we'd win more games. I don't see that happening. But this is just a tough situation right now for New England and their fans. And would you call it desperation, Paul? At this point, do you call this desperation?
I think we're hitting the panic button.
Are you? Is that what you think?
I think so. Yeah, really? I think so. I'd rather see him come in against Jacksonville. Now, again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he goes in there. It's like, wow. What I hope he goes in there.
A good competitive team.
And we say, wow, why has this guy been playing the whole time? But Is that possible? I don't know. I guess that's what I'm going to be rooting for as a
Right.
Patriots fan.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. I think there's going to be a lot more eyeballs on this game. I mean, I've been watching the games. I'm a fan. I'll watch them when, I like watching my teams when they're not that good because I love rooting for the underdog. So I like to watch the team. So I'm watching and I like to see how they're going to put this together and stuff. So how's the kid going to do on Sunday at 1:00?
Well, if they go 1-17, you're local, they're going to be on TV every week anyways. So it doesn't matter. You're still going to put it on to watch it.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put that one on. I'm going to put, if there's one on CBS and then the red zone, and kind of watch a little bit of everything. But, being local here, they're going to be on, and people are going to sit back and say, well, did he get better from last week to this week? And then the following week, is he getting better? Are we seeing progression? That's what people want to see, where things going in the right direction, so they have hope again that this team gets back to the promised land and gets back to playoff football.
Lisa says, I hope he wears his running shoes and not his cleats because he's going to be running for his life. It's basically what she's saying. Hey, I'll be, whatever happens, I just hope, all it takes is I get creamed that one time. I hope he's smart and he goes into a slide, or, you know what I mean? If he's going to run the ball, go into the slide. Don't get hurt, trying to get a first down, when you're 1-4 on the season. You know what I mean?
I think he will. I think he knows that what needs to be done and how he's going to do it. And I'm sure they've talked to him and said, listen, you could be our franchise. We don't need, what like Tua's been doing. And we hopefully we can protect you enough so, you don't take shots. And next thing you know, you're out with concussions.
As a fan, right, I'm watching these games and I know who's a fan of the different teams. Like we know the big New Orleans fan, and we know the big Detroit Lions fan, and we know Chris Santos is a big, obviously a Cowboys guy.
Yep.
So, I'm watching like San Francisco blow that game last weekend. I was thinking, Chops Turner must be throwing stuff at the television, right? So I always think of particular people. So just to switch over to baseball, because I know you got to cut out early. I'm watching the Baltimore Orioles, and I'm like, gee, they had such a great team, such a great lineup. I'm looking at the lineup, every single guy, 15, 20 home runs, good OPS, everything, good pitching and everything else. And then you get into one of those wild card series, 162 games, comes down to a freaking 2 out of 3. And they get knocked out. I'm thinking, oh, man, poor Chris Santos is watching this game right now, and he's getting aggravated because after all that, it's just like bing, bing, boom, and they are gone.
Well, what I think I'm aggravated about the most is that Baltimore complained that they didn't have the starting pitching. They sat back and said, we have, before last year, guys who were probably third, fourth, and fifth starters on other teams. So what do? We went out and got the kid from Milwaukee, and we went out and got the kid from Philadelphia. And now both of those guys, one pitches game 1, one pitches game 2, and they go 7 and 8 innings, Paul.
Yeah.
And pitch dominant baseball. And the next thing I know, I can't buy a hit. And I'm scratching my head going, well, that was what we were supposed to be good at, which was the hitting, and the pitching is what we're trying to catch up. And it reversed and went the opposite way. Again, a 2 out of 3 series. It can happen. It goes that way. Their guys pitching pretty good, couple of big plays. And then you get the it factor hit. The it factor hit. Who made the big hit? Bases loaded, first and third, 2 outs. Santander can't get it done. You know what I mean? Cedric Mullins can't get it done. Big guys, big situations, you got to make those chances. We didn't do it in that 2 out of 3 series. And Detroit's been doing it. Good pitching, good hitting, and timely hitting. The Mets, Lindor's been outstanding, doing what he's doing with timely hits. So a lot of things have gone, well. But just for our team, I just thought, really surprised that I lost because of the hitting.
Well, I'm watching that game, Milwaukee against the Mets, and I'm kind of, Milwaukee, they're not, they can't really get to the promised land. They're playing against the big city team with the money and things like that. So I'm watching Milwaukee. They seem to have this game going, and all of a sudden, boom, that big home run. And I was like, oh man, I'm thinking about the Milwaukee fans, and I'm like, as a Red Sox fan, a Red Sox fan back in the day, not the recent Red Sox fans, I know exactly what that one's like. That was brutal.
It was actually Alfonso, a fastball on the outside, and he just went the opposite way. and it was a stinger. Man, you can watch hype go down like that because the energy level from Milwaukee was like this. And when that ball went over the fence, it just went out of the ballpark, and everybody was. I thought, it was funny because I listened to a couple of comments. I thought Bob Uecker was ready to keel over and pass out.
I
I
know.
felt so bad for Bob Uecker, but that's baseball, Paul, and it's been some really exciting games during these series. Some fun ones to watch and some great comebacks. That's playoff baseball. It's really good to watch.
Well, I've been really watching it. I have to say I've been enjoying it, and I'm not a big fan of the 2 out of 3 because you play 162 games and all of a sudden it comes out to a 2 out of 3. It's really a roll of the dice. I mean, it's such a small snippet of what a team really is. On the other hand, though, that's why you got to win the division.
Correct.
So you're a wild card team. Shame on you for not winning the division. So you get stuck in these 2 out of 3. I think baseball too. I know you got to cut out in a moment.
Yep.
When I compare baseball to football, like when the playoffs first start, I can't find the games. I don't know where they are. There's games at 1:00 in the afternoon. They're all over the place. I mean, I'm kind of like in a semi-retired situation, so I'm thinking to myself, man, like the NFL, you don't have to find the games. The games are kind of like right there. I know it's a different animal and everything. So some of these games are on at like weird times. I will say, though, I think it's a little bit better this year because I find myself 7, 8, 9 o'clock. The games are coming into the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, So I'm like, all right, the pitch clock seems to be helping. So I think baseball has improved a little bit. But I got to tell you, it's not easy. Those early round games, those 2 out of 3s, they got these games like all over the place on all kinds of channels at all kinds of weird times. I think they can do that better.
Well, when you see ESPN, you see ABC, you see NBC, you see TNT, TBS, they got them all out there right now. So you just got to find it. And it's 1:30, 4:30, 7:30.
Yeah.
A lot going on. So Lucas Ferreira's got the Miracle Mets taking on the Yankees in the World Series. So if that goes there, wow, what a Subway Series. How fun would that be for New York? To see that going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not a Yankee fan at all. I hope they get knocked out as fast as possible. But, it is what it is. And they won the division. They did what they needed to do. And maybe they could move on and see it there. But, Paul, I hope a couple of people call Paul Santos because Chris Santos here has to run a late change in my practice today. So, I got to get up and do my thing. But, hey, guys, give Paul a call. Still got 15 minutes left in the show. Give him some time to talk to you. But I appreciate it, guys. I got to run. It was great. Paul, good luck this week. I hope the guy stays alive so we can talk next week.
All right. Sounds good, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thanks, pal. Bye-bye.
I'm going to have a chance to go on a few rants over here. All right. Thanks to Chris Santos for his great contribution to Santos on Sports. Got a few minutes over here. I'm going to take it the rest of the way. It's Paul Santos on Sports. If you'd like to give me a call, 774-218-3393. If you want to continue to make these comments in the comment line, that's always a lot of fun, too. I want to say hello to Lisa because I know Lisa watches my other show, which I appreciate, which is Paul Santos Live Show, which you can catch here on YouTube and on Facebook. You can also catch it on ABC 6 in Providence, Sunday mornings every other week at 10:30 a.m. And in the New Bedford area, and that includes New Bedford, Dartmouth, Haven, and Acushnet, it's on Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock, Channel 95. As far as sports, I see Lucas Ferreira. Yes, Lucas, how are you? I'm happy to see that your career in broadcasting is proceeding along. Myself and Chris, we really enjoy doing play-by-play here at the local level. I see you're doing it at the college level up in the Boston area. It's really, really cool. We're rooting for you. We think it's a lot of fun to see someone from our area doing well in broadcasting. And his comment is $350 million Miracle Mets. But yes, they have one of those big payrolls. And that was the thing. I'm watching them play Milwaukee, and Chris had mentioned about Bob Uecker. I think Bob is 90 years old. Milwaukee hasn't won the World Series, right? So you're thinking, hey, maybe there's a chance for Bob Uecker to call these great games with Milwaukee, and Milwaukee had a great game. They had a great team. They had a nice lead, and then all of a sudden that big home run by the Mets. I was thinking, oh my God, right? Just one swing of the bat. And that's the thing about baseball, right? If you're behind, say 3-0 in a hockey game, right? You got to score a goal, and you got to score another goal, and you got to score another goal, right? In baseball, wow, you get the bases loaded, or you get some guys on base, and all it takes is like one hit, and you could have a lead that you've had for 3 hours wiped out just in one swing of the bat. I think that's what makes baseball unique. We're seeing that in the playoffs this year for sure. Like same in football, if you're behind by 3 touchdowns, you got to get 3 touchdowns, right? But in baseball, it all gets wiped out by one swing of the bat, and that's one of the things that's a little bit unique about baseball. You're watching Santos on Sports. I'm Paul Santos. I did want to tell you, I know with this podcast, Chris and I, because of our schedules, the podcast is all over the place. We're really trying to nail it down and do the same time at night. We're looking for Wednesday nights around 7 o'clock. Just do it every week at the same time when people are out of work and it's the evening. So that's what we're shooting for. But I have a few minutes left here. If you want to jump in here, things are wide open. We got one caller so far, 774-218-3393. Is it a big mistake to put Drake Maye in there? I got to tell you, my feeling is I think it is. I don't think this is the right game to put him in there. You're going against Houston. Houston has got one of the top defenses in the league. He's got to go in there and play against this top defense. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can come up with a game plan, put him in the shotgun, have him slinging the ball around, protect him, at least have him get in there, get comfortable. Even if they don't win the game, I hope he surprises me. I hope he's a guy that we're going to look at and say, what the hell? This guy should have been on the bench the whole time. I should have been in the game the whole time, right? So I don't know. But the Patriots look at the schedule. They won their first game against Cincinnati. Should have won the game against Seattle, right? If it wasn't for that sack where Brissett held the ball too long, they could have kicked a field goal and won that game. The New York Jets game, they lost. San Francisco, they lost. Miami, they should have won that game too. They made some big mistakes costing them that game. So they easily could have been 3-2. Now they're taking on Houston. Houston's 4-1. They got Stroud in there. I think it could be difficult. But then after that, things kind of soften up a little bit. You got Jacksonville. You got the Jets again. But the Jets, I know they manhandle the Patriots, but they're not playing good ball right now. Just fired their coach. Then you got Tennessee and Chicago. And then even the LA Rams. And then Miami again. And then Indianapolis. So there's a little stretch in the season where things kind of soften up. So what is the line of thinking? You get them in there against Houston. You get them comfortable. Maybe you challenge them. I don't know. But maybe right after that, when the season or the schedule softens up, maybe the Patriots can get on a little bit of a roll. I don't know. We'll find out. Now, Lucas Ferreira, thank you for commenting. Terrible situation for the kid, but you have to figure out what you have at some point. Well, that seems to be the line of thought. The line of thought is that, you know what? We're not going to wait any longer. Head coach Mayo says, you know what? We're looking at the team. We're looking at the game plan against Houston. We think he gives us the best chance to win the game. Based on strategy, based on scheming, based on his talents versus Jacoby Brissett, based on some of the situations that have happened in the games that were Brissett maybe could have done better. So let's try the kid. But I got to tell you, you look at that pass where the toe was in bounds, but the heel landed out of bounds. If that had been caught for a touchdown and the Patriots were even 2-3, and that was like a nice drive that Jacoby Brissett led down the field, would we be having this conversation right now? I don't think so. I think they'd let Brissett play another game. But because they're 1-4, because of the call didn't go their way, and it was the right call, the whole foot has to be in bounds. It was the right call. I got no problem with the call. I got no problem with the rule. That's the rule. That was the call. It was the right call. But let's say the ball had been caught for a touchdown. I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. I think they'd be waiting on me a little bit. Now, they have the practices. The coaches see him in practice. They run the schemes in practice. They see what he's doing in practice, and they may be looking at him going, you know what? This kid's better than Brissett. Maybe some of the players are thinking, this kid's better than Brissett. So why put him in there? Why are we waiting? Let's get him in there and find out what we have. Now look at Daniels. Daniels is playing great in Washington, right? Now, again, he had more of an involved college season, college career than Drake Maye did, but Williams is playing well. Bo Nix is playing well. So, you know what? What are we waiting around for? All we're doing is delaying the inevitable. At some point, he has to go in there. And Lucas Ferreira is saying, hey, let's put him in there and see what we have. Got a couple minutes left, 774-218-3393. If you'd like to say hello, that would be a lot of fun. Hear from you. We'll put you right on. It's really easy. We don't bite, we just put you right on, see what's going on. Butch makes another comment here, or actually a new comment from Butch Ferreira. I think you're right, Lucas Ferreira. But I'm confused as to why now. What's changed to think that he's going to perform better? Maybe practice performance? Well, that's right. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the coaches are looking at Drake Maye in practice and they're going, gee, you know what? This kid's got something here. This kid's maybe got an it factor. He's got some ability that Brissett doesn't have. He's reading the defense as well. He seems to be able to throw the ball accurately. He seems to be able to move around in the pocket. He can break away and use his speed and run for a first down smartly when he has the opportunity to do so. So, if we put Brissett in there, it's going to be a loss. We're going to lose the game. It's going to be the same thing like before, holds onto the ball too long, can't find the open receiver. It takes too long to go through his progressions. So maybe it's just a situation where in practice they see that the kid, right, has something that we should see, like some of the other teams have seen with their quarterbacks. Now, Lucas is saying Kraft could have pulled some strings too. Well, I've heard a lot of commentators at the national level say, wow, we're looking around Gillette Stadium and we see a lot of empty seats and people are starting to not pay attention to the Patriots. I got to tell you, anybody that has a red zone, like we all have the red zone, us that are big fans, it's very easy to duck out of the Patriots game and go over to the red zone. Now, if you like Chris Santos, he has 2 monitors and he's got the red zone on at the same time he has the Patriots. But the empty seats, the feeling that there's nothing going on here, that the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league, that's the bottom of the barrel. Butch thinks, I really believe that has contributed to the decision. Well, hey, he's the owner of the team. Jonathan Kraft helping out his dad, making these decisions. That's probably true. It's probably like, hey, you know what? You coaches think that this kid's got something and he's on the bench. Hey, let's put him in and see what happens. I think it's interesting. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that, he doesn't go in there and have like a miserable game. If the Patriots can just compete with him, right? They can just keep the game close and give him a run for it, come up with a game plan that has a chance to be successful. Hey, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the schedule. After Houston, we got Jacksonville. Yes, we got the New York Jets, but then we got Tennessee, Chicago, the LA Rams, Miami, Indianapolis, even Arizona. So you got like a chunk of games where the Patriots should be able to compete. Marketability matters, and tanking with a career backup doesn't sell, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think we want to tank again. We get the draft picks. I don't know. I know we're going to be watching Butch, that's for sure. And I know at Chris's house, he's got like NBC. He's like an ESPN Central. You got monitors all over the place. So it should be a lot of fun. And by the way, we never got to Swayman, but we'll talk about that the next time. The Bruins overpaid for Swayman. $8.25 million for 8 years. I'm watching that first game. The goalie got lit up, but I don't think it's the goalie's fault. Not really. You know what I mean? The Bruins' defense was terrible against Florida. And all they wanted to do was fight because, they don't like the fact that they've been bounced by Florida the last couple of years. I just think it was an ugly game. So the Bruins are playing the Montreal Canadiens tonight as of this recording of the podcast, taking on the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Canadiens stink. If the Bruins can't go in there and beat Montreal at home, then we're off to a possibly a difficult start. Teams that are in the playoff mix by Thanksgiving, 90% of the time, they make the playoffs. So Lucas is saying, shouldn't pay a goalie a dime with the way the defense turns the puck over. Their defense was just atrocious. And they're paying for some of these defensemen, and they're paying for size. But the problem is you can't have, guys like that who have big size, but they have no speed. So that game against Florida, it felt like the Bruins were skating in slow motion. I don't know. To me, hey, the goalie did blow that first goal. It hit him and he dropped it, and there was an open net. But the Bruins were also getting outshot 12-1 in the first period. So you can't always blame the goaltender. But anyway, we're going to be winding things down here tonight. We appreciate the comments from Lucas Ferreira, Butch Ferreira. As I'm scrolling back, I see David Mead, who got involved in our show. We really appreciate that. Brandon Bouchard. Of course, our friend Lisa Corrido, who I think comments on this show and is also somebody that watches my other show. And we also like to thank a new caller. We got a new caller here from, let's see, Barry from Fall River. We got a new caller here, Barry from Fall River. So we appreciate that. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Scotty's Pub, located at 202 Pleasant Street in the city of Fall River. Citywide glass with 3 locations to serve you. 425 Straight Road in Dartmouth. They have additional locations in Fall River and Taunton. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in the great town of Lakeville, where you can play tennis and also participate in pickleball, which is really taken off. And also our good friend, attorney John B. Seed. He's also a sponsor of my other comedy variety show. John Seed, attorney at law, 156 8th Street here in the city of New Bedford. And you can reach him at johnseedlaw.com. So the Patriots, 1 o'clock at home against Houston with the new quarterback, Drake Maye. How is it going to turn out? I think it's a disaster, but I am so hoping I'm wrong. I'm so hoping the kid goes in there and has something that's been missing for the Patriots so far this season. Thanks again for all your comments. We enjoy it. And thanks to Chris Santos for his great contribution to our podcast, Santos on Sports. I'm Paul Santos. Have a great night and go Pats.